Two demonic things that will take place in Israel in the last days. What if I told you that Israel, the land of miracles, prophecy, and God's promise, is also the place where two terrifying things will happen in the last days? Two demonic events are coming, and the Bible already warned us. And the most chilling part? They're already starting. And by the time we get to the second one, you'll understand why time is running out. You might be thinking, that can't happen in Israel. That's God's land. But what if I told you that's exactly why Satan is targeting it? Number one, the abomination of desolation. A satanic figure will defile the holiest place in Jerusalem. But what exactly is the abomination? Could this mysterious act be the final trigger for global chaos? And are we already closer than we think? This is just the first clue in a much bigger prophetic puzzle. What if I told you that Jesus gave a warning so serious, so shocking, that he said, if you see it, you must run for your life, not pray, not preach, not stand, run. He called it the abomination of desolation. Most people have never even heard that phrase, but Jesus said it's one of the final signs before the end of the world. But what if the church is too distracted to notice the sign when it comes? In a moment, you'll see how modern distractions are fulfilling ancient warnings. What horror is so terrifying that even Jesus said to flee without hesitation? Soon we'll expose the unseen blueprint driving all of this from behind the scenes. What you're about to hear next will connect these systems to a plan much darker than politics. What if these systems are already inside the walls of influence and power? Picture this. Jesus is sitting on the Mount of Olives, looking over Jerusalem. His disciples gather around asking, what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the world? And his answer holds more urgency now than ever before. Did Jesus hide a final key in his answer, a clue that explains the chaos we're witnessing now? Jesus starts listing warnings, wars, famines, earthquakes, false prophets. But what sign comes after all of those? A sign so intense, it eclipses them all. And what was the prophecy he saved for last? He gives a specific, chilling warning. Matthew 24, verse 15 says, "When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Whoso readeth, let him understand." Let's go back hundreds of years before Jesus spoke. Get ready. Daniel's vision holds secrets that were never meant to be ignored. The prophet Daniel was in exile, far from Jerusalem. One night, God gave him a terrifying vision. A future ruler would rise up, full of evil. He would desecrate the temple of God. He would stop the daily sacrifice. He would set up something abominable. And in a moment, you'll see why that vision still echoes through time. Daniel 11, verse 31 says, "And they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate." This wasn't just political corruption, it was spiritual war. And in a few moments, you'll realize that spiritual war is already knocking. And spiritual wars often begin long before anyone notices the first strike. This ruler would mock God, stand in God's house, and turn worship into wickedness. But who is powerful enough to defile God's house and deceive the entire world? And who is blind enough to let him in? Now here's where it gets intense. In 167 BC, a Greek ruler named Antiochus Epiphanes marched into the temple in Jerusalem. He didn't just walk in. He sacrificed a pig on the altar. He set up an idol of Zeus in the temple. He forced the Jews to worship it. You'll soon see how this ancient defilement is returning in disguise. Was this just a one-time event, or the blueprint for something even darker ahead? And finally, we'll reveal how this blueprint is unfolding in real time. The people were horrified. Many were killed. Some rebelled. The temple was defiled. It already happened once. Only this time it will be far worse, far more deceptive, far more deadly, far more final. The next phase will reveal a demonic plan hidden in plain sight. What makes the next event so terrifying that Jesus himself warned us to flee? Here's where the tension rises. For the abomination of desolation to happen, there needs to be a temple. But right now, there is no temple in Jerusalem, so how can a prophecy so specific still be on track? You're about to find out. The original temple was destroyed in 70 AD, so how can the prophecy be fulfilled? What if the destruction of the old temple was never the end, but a setup? Is the absence of the temple just the calm before a global storm? Here's the chilling part. There are already plans to rebuild it. And in just a moment, we'll explore who's funding those plans and why. But what if those plans are unknowingly inviting something demonic? What happens next may be the most overlooked sign of the end. The Temple Institute in Israel has everything ready: clothing, altars, instruments, even a new red heifer for purification. Every piece in place. And when that temple rises, it's only a matter of time. But who is the man waiting in the shadows to step inside? In just moments, we'll expose how close he really is to power. He might already be positioned within reach of global influence. Something or someone will walk into it and declare himself to be God. What happens next could ignite a firestorm from heaven and hell alike, and when he does, the age of illusions will shatter. And what comes after will feel like prophecy on fast forward. What unstoppable chain reaction begins the moment he enters? And what ancient warning are we missing in our rush toward comfort? What spiritual dominoes have already started falling? 2 Thessalonians tells us exactly who will stand in the temple: that man of sin, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. This is the Antichrist. And if you think he'll be easy to spot, think again. He won't come wearing horns, but what terrifying disguise will he wear instead? He'll come wearing the mask of salvation. He'll come with charm, intelligence, peace. And behind that peace will be the machinery of control. Could this be the very reason the world falls in love with him? He'll unite nations, but the unity will come with invisible chains. And the next revelation shows how those chains are already tightening. What crisis will force the world to surrender their freedom for his peace? He'll bring false hope, a hope that collapses the moment it's touched, and then he'll betray everyone. And by the time they realize it, escape may no longer be possible. The betrayal will come fast, and it will come from the top. Who will he turn on first, and why will no one see it coming? He will walk into the rebuilt temple, stop all worship of the true God, and place something vile, possibly an image of himself, right in the center. And the world may call it beautiful. Is that image already being designed behind closed doors? Crafted not by human hands, but by something darker? This is the abomination of desolation. But what hidden meaning did Daniel see in this moment that we've missed? What if Daniel's warning wasn't just a vision, but a countdown? And that countdown may be closer to 0 than we think. This is what Jesus said to flee from immediately. Why did Jesus warn to flee? Not fight, not pray, but run. Matthew 24 says, "Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains." This is not just advice, it's a command. He doesn't say fight. He doesn't say pray. He says run. Verse 21 follows up with this. "For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be." The world will enter its darkest hour. And what happens in that hour may be the greatest deception ever unleashed. And in that darkness, the deceiver will shine the brightest. This is the point of no return, and once crossed, there is no safe ground left. How close are we to the moment where mercy ends and wrath begins? The final 7 years will begin. But what exactly is the abomination? Is it something spiritual, physical, or both? You'll soon see why it may be more than just an object. It may be alive. Is it a statue? Is it AI? Is it a living image like Revelation 13 says that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image should be killed? We're about to explore how ancient prophecy may describe future technology. What prophecy have we ignored that's about to explode into our headlines? And every piece is falling into place. The deeper we go, the clearer the picture becomes. Number 2, 2 witnesses killed in Jerusalem. What if I told you there's a moment coming when the streets of Jerusalem will be filled with celebration, not for a holiday, but for a murder? You're about to see why this moment is more terrifying than we imagine. And the rejoicing will mask something far more sinister underneath. What kind of wickedness will make the world throw a party over death? Not just any murder, but the killing of 2 prophets sent by God. Coming up, we'll uncover why their deaths trigger cosmic consequences. And their deaths may signal the start of the world's final unraveling. And here's the scariest part. The whole world will watch it happen. And in watching, the world will become part of the judgment. And what comes after that global moment of celebration will be pure terror. What technology will allow every eye to witness it in real time? They'll cheer, they'll laugh, they'll even exchange gifts. Next, we'll show how prophecy predicted this twisted global celebration, as if celebrating will shield them from what comes next. Why would the death of 2 men bring global joy, unless their message exposed a terrifying truth? Their words may reveal the one thing the world doesn't want to hear. How soon will this prophecy unfold before our eyes? Let's rewind. This next moment takes us back to the origin of their mission. The book of Revelation, chapter 11, introduces us to 2 witnesses. They're not ordinary men. Who are they really? And why do some believe they've appeared before in history? And soon, we'll explore their past identities, Moses, Elijah, or someone else. What if they're not just prophets, but symbols of something even deeper? They come with supernatural power. What kind of divine authority will they demonstrate, and who will fear them most? What happens next may trigger fear across every level of government. And what if their appearance causes chaos no government can contain? Revelation 11, verse 3 says, "And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth." That's 1,260 days. And in those days, a war between heaven and earth will begin. 3.5 years. 3.5 years of unstoppable confrontation between heaven and earth. These two men will stand in Jerusalem and preach with boldness. They will expose lies, and the deeper they preach, the more violent the opposition will become. Soon, we'll uncover who they confront and what secrets they expose. What world leaders will they confront, and what secrets will they reveal? They will call out the Antichrist, and when they do, will it mark the beginning of the end? Their confrontation could be the spark that ignites global judgment. They will speak God's truth without fear. But what truth will they speak that enrages the world so violently? A truth so raw, it forces people to choose a side instantly. And the final question, will you recognize the truth before it's too late? Because what happens next could split the world in two. And what happens next is nothing short of war. A war not just of nations, but of kingdoms, light versus darkness. And the next phase will show how this war is already taking shape. How will the governments of the world respond when their power is challenged by heaven itself? These witnesses won't be defenseless. They will be untouchable for a time. Revelation 11, verse 5 says, "And if any man will hurt them, fire proceedeth out of their mouth and devoureth their enemies." Can you imagine that? A moment when heaven breaks through the rules of nature. What would it look like for fire to erupt from a prophet's mouth in the middle of a modern city? The battlefield of Jerusalem becomes a graveyard of those who oppose them. Could this be the moment that fear begins to grip every nation watching? Anyone who tries to stop them is destroyed. What comes next will show how unstoppable they truly are. And it doesn't stop there. What other judgments are waiting to be unleashed by their command? Plagues that could sweep cities before anyone understands why. Revelation says, "These have power to shut heaven, that it rain not in the days of their prophecy, and to smite the earth with all plagues as often as they will." No rain, plagues on command. A world held hostage by two men no military can stop. And under that tension, cracks will begin to form in the foundation of the city. But underneath it all, something darker is rising. A presence watching, waiting, plotting every move. What ancient evil is preparing to strike the moment their message is complete? There comes a day when the witnesses finish their testimony. They have said everything God told them to say. And what happens next has been written for thousands of years, and that's when it happens. The exact second the enemy has been waiting for. What secret signal unlocks the power of darkness to finally act? In the next moment, the gates of the abyss will open. Revelation 11, verse 7 says, "When they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them, and shall overcome them, and kill them." This is not just a man. This is a beast, a demonic force straight from the pit of hell. And what we reveal next may show it's already walking among us. What does this beast truly look like? And has it already made its move in silence? Satan's puppet, the Antichrist, the ruler of darkness. We're about to peel back the mask and expose what hides beneath, and somehow, God allows him to kill the two witnesses. A moment that will make heaven weep and hell cheer. And you'll soon see why even that moment is part of God's perfect plan. Why would God let his messengers be struck down in such horror? The fire no longer protects them. The plagues stop, and for a moment, it looks like evil has won. But in a few verses, everything will flip, and judgment will roar back. The crowd watches in silence, a silence heavy with judgment about to fall, and then cheers. Not knowing they're cheering their own destruction. What kind of world celebrates the death of holiness and calls it peace? A world too blind to see it standing at the edge of wrath. Now comes the part that should chill you to your bones. Revelation 11, 8 through 10 says, "And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, where also our Lord was crucified. And they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies." Their bodies are left in the streets of Jerusalem. No burial, no honor, no silence. Instead, the world celebrates. But what they celebrate will become their curse. Why is this moment described as joy when it should be a warning? Let that sink in. The truth tormented them more than lies ever could. The murder of God's messengers becomes a global holiday, and that holiday may become the day everything changes. What kind of darkness turns martyrdom into a festival? People buy gifts like it's Christmas, but the wrapping paper may soon be soaked in regret. Is this the final deception that prepares the world for total spiritual collapse? The moment when mankind's heart fully turns away from God? They cheer like it's a party. They laugh at the sight of two lifeless servants of God, not knowing their laughter is fuel for their own destruction. That's not just evil, that's demonic. God says nothing. Why would heaven stay silent while the whole world mocks his messengers? Heaven is silent. The witnesses lie still. Their enemies walk by and spit. Cameras roll. Broadcasters smile. Their smugness will soon freeze into terror. The Antichrist celebrates. It looks like evil has won. But it's the calm before the explosion of divine justice. It looks like God has lost, and for those few days, it feels like all hope is dead. But that feeling is a setup for what's about to erupt. Have we ever been closer to the feeling of a world without God? But then, everything changes. The silence cracks like thunder splitting the sky. What force could reverse death in front of the entire world? Revelation 11 verse 11 gives us the shock of the story. And after 3 days and a half, the Spirit of life from God entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. Suddenly, their eyes open, their chests rise, they stand up, and the party turns to panic in a heartbeat. What does resurrection look like when it's broadcast live to billions? It looks like the end of every excuse. The crowd screams. Terror strikes every heart watching live. And no one can deny what just happened. What happens to your faith when what you mocked stands again? And what if there's no time left to repent? And then they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, "Come up hither." God calls them home, and the world watches the sky open like a wound in reality. And in full view of the whole world, they rise into the sky. And the gravity of judgment pulls harder than ever before. What will people do when they see undeniable proof of God on camera? Back to the throne of God. But God's not finished. He never resurrects without reason. What comes after resurrection is even more terrifying. Revelation 11:13 says, "And the same hour was there a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell, and in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000. The ground shakes, buildings fall, thousands die. It's not just an earthquake, it's a warning shot from heaven. What if this quake is just the first of many judgments to come? The first drumbeat of the storm now unleashed. The city is in chaos, and the people finally realize this was not just about two men. This was about God's judgment. And the judgment has only just begun. How many ignored the signs until it was far too late? How many closed their eyes moments before the sky opened? This was a warning to the world. A line has been crossed. And what lies beyond that line is not mercy, it's fire. What happens when mercy ends and justice begins? The world is about to find out. The time of mercy is closing. The end is near. How much time is left? And will you recognize the final sign? Now let me ask you a question. Who are these two witnesses? The Bible doesn't give names, but many believe it could be Moses and Elijah. Why? Because Elijah shut the heavens in 1 Kings. Moses brought plagues in Exodus.